Hello and welcome to Sacred Wellness. This is where we explore healing beyond the surface. Midlife Rediscovered. Midlife isn't a crisis, it's a remembering of who we truly are. This season, we're expanding this new vision, one that honors midlife, one that shows you what a powerful, intuitive being that you are, and one that helps you rediscover. Today's conversation is for the woman who is done fighting her body, done forcing willpower, and ready to come home to herself. I'm honored to welcome Kayla McDonald, a food freedom and embodiment coach. She helps women break free from self sabotage and finally feel safe, sexy, and at home in their bodies. I love that so much. She's the creator of Food Freedom Fantasy, a sensual, story driven method that blends the nervous system healing, archetypes, and sacred play. This is a conversation about desire, devotion, and rewriting the stories we've been living in, especially in midlife. So let's dive right in. Kayla, welcome to the show. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too, me too. It's something so needed and so talked about. In the sacred lens that we discuss all of this with women, especially, that's where the premise of my work has always been, but more so in this midlife initiation activation phase that we're moving through. And I find midlife is almost as if it's a portal, right? We're opening, we're rediscovering. But as we talk about your work today, I want to see. This deeper embodiment of food and freedom for women, because I think it's a big issue for many women, myself included. So, can you share a little bit about that?
I actually started my career as a personal trainer and a health coach. I had struggled with binge and emotional eating, body image, all the things since 6 years old. And when
Wow.
I started to do the healing for myself, I knew was a huge pain point for me. I know how deeply it hurts, and I want to help other people with the same. And the interesting thing was when I entered into the health coaching field, all of my binge eating, my emotional eating, the challenges I thought I had overcome came crashing back. And it was through doing a lot of deep work and finding the root causes for why people, especially women, struggle so deeply with food and eating and body image that I've really stepped into the work that I do now as I go into midlife and beyond.
I love that so much. And I love that you have the experience behind it. I think often, that's where our deepest work comes from is on ourselves. And we have so much to share from the experiences we've had. Many women struggle with emotional eating, as you've said, myself included. But especially during this sort of hormonal and identity shifts that we go through. I think there's a comfort there. There's a safety there. I know for me, eating is very grounding. So I spend a lot of time out of my body. So eating, sex, being outside, those things are very grounding for me. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the nervous system. It's a big topic nowadays, right? How does the nervous system rewiring help women to feel safe in their bodies again? There's so much that goes into it, right? Um, and we are so multifaceted that the nervous system is just one aspect of it, but I think it's important to touch upon today with your work.
I love that you use the term nervous system rewiring versus regulation because both are used. And I heard a distinction between the two that has always stuck with me. So, in nervous system regulation, you feel a thing and you regulate so you don't feel the thing. And I realized binge and emotional eating is actually nervous system regulation. It might not be the most life-giving, energizing, enjoyable way in the long run, but it is a form of nervous system regulation. So, with nervous system rewiring, which is the work I am so passionate about, a person feels a thing, and their first instinct over time is not to shut it down, to make it wrong, to numb it, to distract from it. It's actually to meet it and
Mm.
to not make it wrong. and to breathe with it, to stay in the body, to use these tools that are really beautiful for growth and healing and alchemy, so that then over time, emotional things are always going to happen. But now when they happen, the instinct isn't to eat or to distract or to numb. Now it's to know I am so fully resourced and I have rewired my own nervous system so beautifully that I can face whatever it is. And yes, I might cry. Yes, I might have a body experience, but that's what we're actually meant to do to process these different things.
Yeah, we're meant to feel. And I always say, maybe cliche, but you need to feel it to heal it. There's no more. The energy we're moving into, there's no more shoving this all down anymore. We've got to learn to feel what it is. And because we've been taught that way, many of us, it's very natural for us to sort of shove it down and not want to feel it. But often, that just causes more angst and anxiety within us. And so I love that you shared that way in your words, how you work with women. I think it's so important. We talked a little bit about the nervous system, but I want to move into cravings and communication because I feel like, our bodies are so intuitive. They give us all these signals and signs, but we just want a pill to fix it or something quick. Give me something quick and I want to get rid of it. But cravings really tell you when you're in touch with your body, cravings really tell you like things that you're missing. But you go a little deeper into that and talk about archetypes and inner storytelling to transform these cravings into clarity. I love that. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, so you're absolutely right in that cravings are always going to have a message. There's always going to be some kind of need behind them. So in my archetypal work, my clients create two archetypes, and I call one of them the fire starter. And that is the one that gets you to go do the thing, helps reduce resistance, procrastination, all of those different things. And in most of the women I work with, high performing, like get out there and do the thing women, this is a very strong archetype.
Yes.
And if you just let him run wild and do his thing by himself or herself, I usually use masculine archetypes, you're going to end up with burnout. You're going to end up with those cravings because it's a way of your body wanting to slow down. And you're going to end up with a lot of that binge and emotional eating because you're taking so much action, you're not allowing yourself to feel.
Yes.
And that's where the other archetype comes in, who I call the inner sanctuary. And this is the one that reminds you you're enough, exactly as you are. Slow down, stay in your body. It's safe to feel. So when you can actually have more access to this archetype,
Mhm.
you're going to have a better balance between the two. So you're not ending up going way this direction or way this direction. Ideally, they're both working together and you're going straight line towards whatever goal or dream it is you're working towards. And then those cravings tend to take care of themselves.
That is such a powerful way to describe it because much of the work, and I didn't learn this till much later in life, but much of the work that we do is such an imbalance, right? We're taught this masculine way of always doing. If you're not doing something, maybe you were told you were lazy. So often we have these belief systems that behind that as well. But as women, we're taught to drive and to keep going and take it all on. I'm always reminded, I don't know if you're old enough, but that song, Bring Home the Bacon and Fry It Up in the Pan. We did it all, and we still have been doing it all for many, many years. And I think we're coming into that energy now where there needs to be that balance. We've got to find a way to disconnect from all of those things that are out there and help move into this space of being inwards and learning exactly what that means for each of us and coming into the balance of the feminine and the masculine, right? We want to be able to learn to rest and breathe and play and create and be sensual. And that's my next question because I think so many women, myself included, we disconnect from sensuality, not only because we have families, we have busy jobs, busy days, but because we're aging and our bodies are changing and we're not taught to understand what that truly means. I want to talk to you a little bit about why reconnecting with that desire is part of this because the essential piece for me, I think, is the sacred wellness, the play, the sensuality that comes into balance when you learn to regulate all of these things, right? We're learning to do new ways to grow new things. But tell me a little bit about why reconnecting with that desire is so important.
It's really everything, especially as a woman. So, our sexual power and our sensuality, that's also our creative power. And our creative power is everything. It's what allows us to imagine things. It's what allows us to like create whatever it is we want to create, whether that's like a family or a business or creative projects. So when we're cut off from that sexual energy and that sensual energy, we're also cut off from that creative energy. And that's really problematic if we do have these dreams and these goals and these desires we want to go after. And then the other thing that tends to happen if we are disconnected from this sensuality is that everything feels drier than stale toast and it's boring and it all feels like a chore and an obligation. So then what'll happen is people either just not do the things that they truly want to do, or they'll do them, but in this like contracted, I have to state. And when we're in that state, we're actually in a chronic stress response, which is going to do a host of things to our physical body.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think for me, I work a lot with chakras and with women, and often we get stuck in those lower chakras and we can't move that energy out. And I think that's a piece of it too. You know, just being so focused outwards rather than inwards and being able to create the time and space that we need. Sexuality and sensuality is such a big piece. I don't think people realize, especially women, of such a big piece of everything that we do. That passion, it resides within us. It's there, but we have to have all of those aspects of ourselves joining together. I love that you share about women listening to their disconnected bodies. I think one of the things that has been the hardest part of my journey has been the disconnection from my physical body because of the trauma that I've had as a child. And I think one embodied practice that always helped me as I moved forward on my journey was not only realizing that, but the awareness of disassociation,
Mhm.
disconnection, just sometimes becoming into that awareness of what it is for me really helped me to see, okay, this is what I'm doing right now as I'm going through this. And that was a pace for me that felt very safe for a long time, and not until I was able to work through that. So, can you share with me a couple of embodied practices that you think are really helpful? Somebody's just starting today and they're saying, hey, this sounds like me. I'm really disconnected from my body. What is one thing that I can do to sort of help me start to connect with her?
I would say my absolute favorite practice is dance. And I don't mean like some fancy choreographed
Mhm.
Britney Spears, whatever. I'm talking put on a song that makes you feel safe or makes you feel joyful, whatever kind of mood you're in, and just put on one song in the morning and let your body move to the song how it feels like it wants to move. And it's really important not to overthink here and be like, it's just, okay, well, if I'm not sure how my body wants to move because it's so unfamiliar, maybe I'll try just doing some light shaking or some tapping on the collarbones or just moving the hips or swaying. And then just start to notice what parts of the body come alive with this practice and notice what feels good, what feels safe. And then just coming back to like a 3-minute song every morning and just building in that micro moment of embodiment to start your day can be so powerful.
Oh, I agree. Aesthetic dance is one of the things that I found so um, invigorating. And I wasn't aware when I first started of the emotion that would rise through me. Can you share a little bit about why do you think most people are so disconnected from their body? I shared about trauma. Is there other things that make people really disconnected from their body?
I think trauma is a huge one, and that's one I experienced as well. And I also think that diet culture is a huge one. And, people saying that bodies are supposed to look a certain way, perform a certain way, whatever it might be. And then we can get into this very controlling relationship with our body where it's about how can we change it instead of how can I work with it and appreciate it. And you still might have a desire for some kind of a change, but it's not a control. It's not about what it looks like. It's about how can I take better care of it? I think diet culture is a huge one. And I think we also over glorify intellect and thinking. And again, it's that over reliance on the masculine because the masculine is very up here instead
Mhm.
of being like the feminine is just as important. And that's below the neck, right?
Yes. And think about it, because if most of us were taught that masculine way of doing, always being in that place, and now we're moving into this feminine way of being, it can be very uncomfortable. The body, I always say, the body is the teller before all things. Before your mind, your intellect kicks in, your body's always already describing to you. We get those feelings we meet about people. Maybe I don't know why, but I'm just not sure. And I always share with people that your body, before anything else, is the one intuitive piece. But when we don't know how to listen to it, right? We don't know how to give it what it needs. And often I think when you go on a spiritual journey, you begin thinking that it's all about spirituality and being outside of your body. And when you truly learn that going back into your body, that's a piece of so much the mind body soul connection. Can you share a little bit about this sacred wisdom that sort of comes through? Because when we begin doing work like this with you or with me, then not only are we calling upon our sacred, our soul part of ourselves, but we are also unlayering so many different things. And often it can be very uncomfortable in that space. How do you help women sort of move through? Because many of us get stuck in this resistance, right? I can start this ecstatic dance and begin to feel better, and I feel the difference, but then there's a resistance that comes in. How do you sort of help move women through that resistance?
I truly believe that consistency is going to trump intensity every time. So that's a huge part of how I help people. So when they're starting some kind of a new habit or a new practice, this was actually something I learned way back in my health coaching days, but it's this concept called TMX.
Hmm.
And what it is you have like target. So static dance, for example, maybe you want to do 20 minutes a day. That's your target. But you also want to have a minimum of like on my most stressed, busy day, what's my minimum? Maybe that's one song for 3 minutes. Ideally, it's something like less than 5 minutes, um, because sometimes it's the starting that's the hardest part when that resistance is there. So if you have a minimum of 3 minutes of a song, you can generally convince yourself, even in that resisted state, you can do 3 minutes. And then you start moving and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do 20 minutes. Because it's
Yes.
really that starting that's so, so challenging. So that's what I would recommend there.
Yeah, I think for many of us, that's starting of it, or we've started it and now the resistance comes up because I'm feeling a little different, but it feels really uncomfortable. And I don't know if I'm ready to sort of let loose with all of those emotions that are coming up. And so I think people then also get sort of resistance or wall. Well, I don't have time. And I think that's one of the biggest thing my clients say is I don't have time. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to dance. And I'm like, that's bullshit. You've got time, 5 minutes. 5 minutes a day, to take that time for yourself. You deserve that. And I think when they start doing it then and they make it this sacred practice, it helps them sort of break through. Okay, like I am worth this time and I am feeling this, and it's okay to feel whatever it is that's coming up. I want to thank you so much today for joining us. Do you have any, first, where can my listeners find you, and any freebies that you have coming up that I can share with my listeners?
Yes, so you can find me Instagram, Embodied Writing Warrior. You can find me at embodiedwritingwarrior.com. I have a show over there with like 220 something episodes. And then I actually have a really cool freebie I just put together, and it's called Hungry for Safety, The Divine Daddy's Guide to Emotional Freedom. So it takes this like fanfic style archetype work that I do, and it really gets people to see there's 8 red flags where you can find out, is it actually a food thing I'm struggling with, or is it a safety thing? So the workbook takes you through the whole process. There's little like love notes from the two fire starter and sanctuary archetypes. There's journal prompts. So I'm really excited to bring that to the world.
Wow, that sounds really amazing. And I'm going to tell you to my listeners today, really get out there and go sign up for her freebie. I think it'll be really helpful in you beginning your process to this new journey you're starting. I think this conversation is such a beautiful reminder of true healing doesn't always come from control. It comes from connection. It comes from connection not only with our body, our mind, but our soul. And our soul is always guiding us. Kayla, I want to thank you for guiding women not only through their process, but back to feeling safe again. So many of us women, and I get chills from head to toe, so many of us women have not felt safe for the longest time, and in their sensuality, in their trust, in their faith, in their bodies. And we're moving into this powerful chapter. So I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for the work that you do. And I want my listeners to remember that midlife is not the end of your story. It's actually where your deeper truths begin and opening up to all of these things that you put off or put to the side so you could be a mom or have your career. Now is the time for you to step into your space. And until next time, I want to thank you for joining us. This is Sacred Wellness. Thank you, Kayla, for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.